I would actually like to start class by doing a little bit of an icebreaker, a little bit of an activity. As you know, the reading for today was on critical thinking. What critical thinking is, what skills are involved with it, why it's useful, what it can be applied to. I'd like you to talk to the people around you and try to answer this question. What is critical thinking good for? Introduce yourselves to the people around you. 5 minutes, talk about that. What is critical thinking good for? All right, go ahead. All right, what do you all think back here? What's it good for?
Question everything.
Question everything?
Yeah.
Okay, why is that good?
I mean, it makes sure you don't make mistakes. It's
Okay.
like, you know, because if we didn't have critical thinking, like we'd act out of emotions, and like having critical thinking is necessary for society, so that we don't, you know, act on just rash emotions, and we're not super.
Yeah.
If you have critical thinking, you just take a step back, slow down. Like you can apply to relationships, like your decisions in your lifelong journey. Like, you know, when I go to the gym or the bar, like let's question pros.
All right,
like,
yeah.
The story talked about how good critical thinkers could solve more problems than bad critical thinkers do.
Yeah.
So it just solve more problems in the world between people.
Okay,
You can see different
great.
sides and all viewpoints.
Cool. Okay, yeah, keep talking. Great start. Good. Okay. What do y'all think here? What's critical thinking good for?
Pretty much everything.
Everything?
Part, yeah.
Explain more.
So, like Sawyer, we were like just figuring out. What he said was, it's not little. You have the paragraph, and then you have this thing that's like a diagram.
Yeah.
That shows words. And that's saying most great critical thinkers have some of these qualities. Other great critical thinkers may have one or two of these qualities. And then some poor critical thinkers is what the text referred, or weak critical thinkers,
Yeah.
may be missing some of these qualities.
Okay. Okay, so it's associated with certain skills.
Yeah.
What can you apply it to?
You can apply it to
About like anything with like decision making or like, you know,
Yeah.
like kind of like think about, reflect on, you know, like just like read like discover or just like involved.
So a lot of different things, it sounds like you're saying.
also like referring to the future when you're thinking of an event that you're going to do now. How can it affect in the future?
Yeah, future consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good, thanks. All right, what do y'all think here? What's critical thinking good for?
It's good for like complex problems facing reality. I mean,
Okay.
oftentimes it can be like good for every situation, but it's not like the exact thing you want to do. Like,
Okay.
for instance, like purposeful thinking, like intentional thinking, intuitive thinking. Thinking in the moment isn't the best for like critical thinking.
Okay.
A soldier and athlete, they shouldn't be thinking deeply about like the intention in each and every detail.
Okay, so there are situations where you might not want to like spend time, right, thinking hard about what to do.
Yeah.
Like you want to act in the moment. Okay. Okay. Anything else that you guys want to add?
No, I just mainly just having like a purpose behind like whatever you're doing. I guess you're thinking towards something.
Yeah.
It's not just randomly thinking.
Yeah. There's a goal. There's an end in mind, right? Yeah. And maybe it's useful for getting us to that goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks. Okay. Thank you for doing that little activity for me. Hopefully this got the wheels turning in your minds. What I'd like you to do now is rip out a piece of paper from your notebook and write a word or phrase down that you talked about. What is critical thinking good for? Write your answer on that piece of paper. And remember what you wrote, because in a second here, you're going to get rid of that piece of paper. What is critical thinking good for? Write your answer down. Take 10 seconds, write your answer down. Don't think about it too hard. Okay, once you have your answer written down, I want you to crumple up that piece of paper. Make sure you remember what your answer is before you do that. Maybe you want to check it. Okay, now whip it at me. Throw it at me. Try to hit me. Man, y'all are terrible. Come on. Throw some. Oh, that was pretty good. Oh. Well, I caught one of them. Let's see. What did you all say? Critical thinking, good for everything to daily life. What do y'all think? Is that a good answer? What else is it good for? I mean, this says everything, but could we expand upon that a little bit? Yeah.
Like financial decisions.
Financial decisions. Okay, say a little bit more.
So, for example, like it's probably smarter to not gamble or stuff like that. But it's better to invest in like stocks and other stuff.
All right, because what happens if you gamble too much? You'll probably just lose from the get-go, right? The house always wins. These games are stacked against us. Okay, you could lose all your money, right? So critical thinking can help you not lose all your money, right? What else? Yeah.
I guess kind of expanding onto what you're saying about gambling, future failure.
Future failure, okay.
So that you prevent pretty much future failure. So you think about what your consequence of the action you're doing.
Yeah, okay. So in your mind, and it's crazy, but we all have this ability, if we're a normal average person, we can simulate situations in our own minds. What's going to happen if I say this thing to this person, right? What's going to happen if I take this action instead of that one, right? So we can imagine scenarios in our heads, we can play them out, we can use critical thinking to try to avoid bad future consequences. What else?
I mean, solving like complex problems with like many moving variables, when you're having to move between different concepts and like lead it to one idea, that really like needs the skills of critical thinking.
So what's an example of a complex problem?
I mean, financial problems, that's definitely a good example.
Right, sure.
You have your own assets, you have the market that's moving outside of you, and then you have how you're working, how much money you're making consistently, you're having to include all these different things.
Right, budgeting, investing, if you're involved in business, right? That sounds like a complex decision. How do you get into business with someone? What kind of contract do you sign? Sure. One more. What else is critical thinking good for? Yeah.
Health. So, like, if you're trying to go eat McDonald's but you're trying to be healthy, it's not really a good thought. So, critical thinking can help you to say, oh, maybe I should put down the cheeseburger and go eat like a salad or something.
Or go to the gym,
Yeah.
right? Which is very hard to motivate to do. Yeah, critical thinking can be used to, safeguard your health and make healthy decisions. Yeah. Y'all had some pretty great answers here. I mean, kind of from the get-go, the answer was given away. But, yeah, critical thinking is useful for everything, okay? We live in a very complicated world, okay? With a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts. You can apply critical thinking to pretty much everything. Solving a problem. For example, why is my girlfriend mad at me? Let me think about that. Maybe it was because a week ago I said she looked really fat in that dress. Maybe that's it. Yeah, you can figure out the causes of problems. You could try to, ameliorate problems. Critical thinking can help you understand a concept, can help you navigate other relationships, business decisions, do well in school, right? If y'all don't actually think about this content and apply it, I mean, you're not going to remember it and you're not going to do well on exams, right? Critical thinking can help you understand a syllabus, other people's expectations, what you're supposed to do at your job and how you're supposed to do this, right? It can help you choose a school. Y'all probably used some modicum of thinking to decide to go here, right? For me personally, it was financial where I went to college. But there are a lot of moving parts to the world that we live in, right? Critical thinking can help us see things more clearly. And it can help us discover the truth as well. Now, what happens if you don't engage in critical thinking? What if you're faced with a problem or an issue and you're just like, nah, I'm not going to think about it? What are some of the consequences of not engaging in critical thinking?
I mean, you react with just your face reaction to a lot of things.
Your
You don't-
gut response?
Yeah, you're not intuitive with a lot of decisions.
And why might that be good or bad? Or
I mean, after a long time of making those decisions consistently, not actively thinking about things, you can slowly drift off from reality and not be in it.
Okay, so you can get disconnected from reality if you don't think about things?
Yeah.
Yeah, what else?
If you don't evaluate consequences properly, they can stack up really quickly. Like a few bad decisions before work, and you might end up missing it, and then you get fired, and then it's fired.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly a possibility, right? What else?
You sort of be are at the whim of the world as opposed to making an actual decision. You're sort of gambling on the outcome. I mean, it could be positive, but a lot of the time it's not going to end up being positive.
Okay. Yeah, could you be a little bit more specific or give us an example?
Yeah, so let's bring up the McDonald's example. If I just go to McDonald's without thinking about it, I mean, that's a negative action. But I could choose a healthier option sort of on accident, and that's a positive. Yeah, you're sort of gambling, if that makes sense, but usually that'll trend poorly, I think.
Okay, if you don't use your critical thinking skills, right, to make the better decision.
Without engaging in critical thinking, you could be losing out on connections between people.
Okay.
Not understanding their part or really formulating what you're thinking or talking about to someone.
So it'll make it harder for you to navigate relationships, right? Relationships are critical, right? We need relationships in order to make money, in order to survive, in order to be psychologically happy and healthy. Yeah, final one.
Or it could put you in dangerous situations. Like, for instance, if you're not using critical thinking while you're trying to merge onto the highway, you could end up T-boning somebody or getting in a crash.
Right. Lack of critical thinking could even lead to illness in some instances, and in even worse ones, death. Right? I mean, what happens if you're a nurse and you receive some sort of order from the doctor about what medicine to give this person, and they've been sleep deprived for a while, and you don't actually really look at the order properly? You wouldn't know that they wrote down the wrong medication, right? Or the wrong dosage. You could kill someone in a situation like that. Yeah, lack of critical thinking can lead to very bad consequences. Can everyone read this? I'm trying to write large enough for people in the back. Read that? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, as y'all said, it can lead to a lot of different issues, whether that's relationship problems, problems in your job, problems at school, problems with transportation when you're driving, right? If you're not paying attention to the road and thinking about, what the rules are, hopefully you've mastered them by now, but I mean, we're not all the most attentive drivers. And in extreme cases, it can even lead to illness or death, depending on the situation. So I hope I'm impressing upon you how important it is to utilize this skill that you have. While we go throughout the course of this class and do our case studies, I'm going to try to give you all a bunch of opportunities to strengthen your critical thinking muscles, okay? To actually think about the ideas that are presented to you so that you can, well, analyze them, understand them, figure out what you believe, and why you may or may not agree with a certain thinker or idea, okay? Now, we all kind of have a sense of what critical thinking is, right? When I say those words, it's not as if they're just meaningless to you, right? You have some sort of idea about what this is. But it might be helpful if we defined it a little bit more precisely. What do you all think critical thinking is? How would you define it? How would you define it? You can throw out a part. It doesn't have to be a whole definition. What goes into critical thinking? What the hell is this thing? Yes, yeah. Experience with past situations. Okay, so maybe critical thinking involves, collecting and using the information that you have. Okay, good. What else? Yeah?
I think it's like taking a bunch of different aspects to form a judgment.
Okay. A bunch of different aspects, like what?
Like if something benefits you, or like you like basically weigh them out, like the pros and cons. I don't know, like there's just like you can see like in a specific situation, like like if I do this, it's gonna benefit me, but if I do something that is good for me, there might be like a negative effect on it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's used, we might say, to figure out what potential consequences might occur from saying something or not doing something or doing something. Yeah. Anything else? Anything that's missing from what we've said so far that you think should be on the table? Yeah.
It's the constant development of how you're thinking, like building upon yourself constantly and making sure you're taking account of everything new.
Taking account of everything. What you said is that this is something that can be developed. Mm-hmm. You use the words higher thinking. Yeah, I like that. I think one of the words that the author used today was metacognition, right? When we're thinking about our own thinking or thinking about higher level concepts and ideas. Yeah. We might call critical thinking an activity or a practice that involves objectively analyzing something and either forming a judgment or acting on it. Okay? Make sure I'm spelling everything right. Now, this is my own definition, but I think it covers it pretty well. What are we doing when we're critically thinking? Well, we're looking at the situation, or we're looking at the issue, or the concept, or the idea, whatever it may be, and we're analyzing that thing. What does it mean to analyze something?
To take both what you know and based off the situation, and then formulate a response based off that.
Okay, so like you're looking at the thing, right? You're trying to understand it, how it works, what it's like, its relationship with other things, right? Yeah, so critical thinking involves doing that. Now, normally we employ critical thinking in order to solve a problem, right? That's something that y'all mentioned many times at the beginning of class. You know, if you have an issue or problem and you don't know how to solve it, well, you critically think in order to find a solution, in order to find a path forward. Now, I added the word objectively here because I think this is critical to what good critical thinking is. What does it mean to objectively analyze something? Yeah?
To take bias out of it.
To take bias out of it. Well, what kind of bias?
Anything really, any predisposition that you had, any previous thoughts on the subject.
Okay, previous thoughts on the subject. What else might we want to screen out if we're trying to objectively look at something and understand it?
Looking at like different perspectives and different angles of it from multiple people or situations.
Okay, so we'll want to incorporate different perspectives and ideas, right? What do we want to get rid of when we're analyzing something?
Emotion.
Emotion? Okay. Anything else?
I was going to say your own biases.
Bias again, right? Yeah, I mean, we might be biased about all different kinds of things, right? If you ask me, you know, what's better, Chipotle or McDonald's, I'm going to say Chipotle, okay? Because I have a preference, I have a bias that isn't rational, but it has to do with my taste, it has to do with, you know, my feelings or whatever, my experiences at Chipotle. Yeah, when we're objectively analyzing something, we're going to try to screen out those things that aren't rational or that aren't logically associated with the thing in question. Okay? Now, we are emotional creatures. We have, you might say, a rational side and an emotional side, right? There's the mind and there's the heart. We're going to talk about this more at the end of class. There's nothing wrong with emotions. But oftentimes they can be stumbling blocks when we're trying to objectively analyze a situation. Okay? I'm sure y'all have been in situations like that where you know what the rational thing to do was, but your heart wanted you to go in a different direction. Right? So as we go through this class and you're presented with all these crazy philosophical ideas, I want you to try to reflect on, oh, why am I having this reaction to this idea? What did I believe before encountering this idea? Why did I believe that? Do I have good evidence and reasoning for my belief? These are all the things that are going to go into our exploration of these ideas, and they're a part of critical thinking. Okay? Turning your ability to think and reflect not only on abstract ideas and concepts and events and situations out there in the world, but also inwards on yourself. So practice that as we go through the class. Okay, good. Now, the author brought up a few different activities or skills, we might say, that are associated with critical thinking. Does anybody remember what those are? I think there were 5 of them. Yeah. You can just give me one. Interpretation. Okay. What's that?
Like it's the like genre it like put into a genreification, like the guy that definition.
Like you might say categorize something? What else? What else is interpretation?
Your perception of something, how you perceive something.
Okay, good. Yeah, what else? Let's expand upon that. What is interpretation?
Perspective on it?
Your perspective on it? Okay.
It's like deriving information from something.
Deriving information from something. Good. I like that one. Anything else?
Using your past experiences also.
using your past experiences might inform what you think something means, why something is the way it is, or something like this. Yeah. Now these are all going to be my definitions, but I think they capture these things pretty well. We might say interpretation involves comprehending or understanding and expressing the meaning of something. When somebody is speaking to you, you're interpreting their words, right? You're deriving meaning from what they're saying. What are they getting at? What are they trying to say? When I present you with a philosophical theory and a definition of it later in the class, there are going to be all things running around in your mind about what is this saying? What is this meaning? Okay, interpretation is a necessary and huge part of life. It's how we interact with the world around us. It's how we interact with other people. Okay? There are all these sources of information everywhere, blasting things at us, and we are looking at that information, and we're deriving some sort of meaning from it. Okay? That's what interpretation is. Okay, what about the other ones? What else was in the reading for today? Yeah. Say that again? Self-regulation. What's that?
Keeping yourself in check and thinking, taking the time to think about what you're doing. How is it affecting things? Is this the way to go about it? Just sort of.
Okay, good. What else?
Thinking about your interpretation of situations or how you're evaluating or analyzing something.
Ah, good. Yes, thinking about how you are evaluating or analyzing something. Good. Anything else?
Analyzing without the bias induced by your own self.
Okay.
Emotions or something.
So, maybe the first time you encounter, a piece of information, right? Somebody says something to you. All of these biases and preconceived notions, right, inform your interpretation. But then maybe you go back and you think, well, why did I have that reaction? Why did my brain give me that interpretation? Right? Yeah, all of that is a part of what the author calls self-regulation. It's this skill, this ability that I already mentioned to you. It has to do with taking your ability to reflect and think and turning it on yourself to figure out what you're thinking, why you're thinking that, why you're making the interpretations that you are, etc. We could summarize it as reflecting on one's own thinking and using those reflections to inform your thinking. Okay? When you're self-regulating like this, you're engaging in self-examination. Okay? You're looking at yourself, how you're thinking, why you had that reaction, why you made that interpretation, why you're having these feelings about what the person said to you. You're thinking about your own, how you are relating to the world. Okay? And that can extend to what the results of your thinking are. Maybe your biases are informing your interpretation of what your boyfriend said to you, right? Because of your past relationship trauma. And that's causing you to, respond sharply to him and push him away. And when you're thinking about this, you're engaged in self-regulation. Okay? Figuring out what you're doing and how it's impacting others. Okay? Okay, good. What else? Explanation. Okay. What's that? Explain it to us.
Presenting your thinking in a coherent way with reasoning to give somebody the full picture.
Excellent. Great response. Does anybody have anything to add to that? I mean, this one's pretty cut and dry, right? When you're explaining something to someone, what are you doing? Well, we might say you are presenting and justifying your own reasoning or your own view. Don't laugh at me if I spell something wrong on the board here. I'm trying to write fast. And we might say, and our conclusions. Yeah, this is pretty cut and dry, right? Explain yourself. Can you explain that to me? Right? Explanation involves, well, laying it out there. Describing how you got to a conclusion or how you got to a view or what something means. Exactly. Okay. What are the last two? Evaluation. Okay. What's that?
Then you evaluate the strength of an argument or a statement. Whether it's like viable or not.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of good ideas there, right? It's kind of hard to define what evaluation is without using the word evaluate, right? But can somebody try to do it? What does it mean to evaluate something? Yeah, assess it. Great synonym.
It's usually like determining its like prevalence or like validity. on
Okay.
the topic.
Good. Yeah, anything else? All great answers so far. I like this word assessing. Okay, I think that is actually the word that I used in my definition as well. Yes. We might say it's assessing the credibility or the strength of something. Okay, when we're talking about reasons and arguments and conclusions. So we might assess one's credibility. We might assess or evaluate the strength of someone's reasoning or the strength of our own reasoning. Basically, when we're evaluating something, we're trying to figure out how dependable is this thing? How much can I depend on that? When you're evaluating a person, well, what are you doing? Well, you're looking at them, you're assessing them, and you're trying to figure out, I don't know, can I trust this person? Can I rely on this person? Is what they're saying likely to be true? If we want to turn it, into arguments and conclusion land, we might say when you're evaluating an argument, what you're doing is you're assessing how strong it is. Whether or not there are good reasons the person gave for it, whether or not those reasons are strong, whether or not those reasons are relevant, etc. Good. Okay, and what's the last one? Inference? Who said that? What does that mean?
What you make of something when looking at the information given.
Could you speak a little bit more into that?
I'm not gonna lie.
That's all right. What do the rest of y'all think? What does it mean to infer? Or, yeah.
It's to draw a reasonable conclusion based off like what you've gathered
Okay, great. It has to do with drawing some sort of conclusion. Yeah.
Kind of like extrapolating from like information or data. So like pulling out from like a data set, like, oh, this means that this is selling better, or this is probably the better thing to do on this day. Like it's just pulling out information.
Okay. Yeah, great. It has to do with drawing conclusions and implications from something, whether it's data, whether it's somebody's words, whether it's somebody's argument. Okay? For example, you're walking down the street. You're just enjoying your day. You got your AirPods in, all right? You're listening to your favorite music. And you see somebody approaching you, and you're on the side of the road. You're just walking straight ahead. Everything's fine. All of a sudden, right as you and that person pass each other, a strong wind comes out of nowhere and knocks you right into them. And they fall down and they break their leg. Did you do something wrong? Are you responsible for that? What do you think?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? Why do you say that?
Because from the other person's point of view, you shoved and pushed them.
From their point of view, yeah, maybe they think, oh, this bastard pushed me into the road, right? Broke my leg. But what actually happened?
Big gust of wind.
Right. A force of nature literally threw you into them, right?
I think you're directly responsible for how you handle the situation.
Okay.
Whether that be like either owning up to it or at the very least like helping them.
Okay, so whether or not you're responsible for something might have something to do with whether you had control over the situation. I think a lot of our intuition is, in the example I mentioned, you're not really responsible for that. It's not your fault. You shouldn't be blamed or punished for it. Because, I mean, you didn't have any control over being thrown into the other person, right? And breaking their leg. Do you have the same intuition that I have here? Okay, so something about being responsible has to do with control. Whether or not we praise or blame someone might have to do with whether they controlled what they did, or if they were forced or coerced to do what they did. Now, what if I told you, actually, the universe is basically like this giant determined machine. Everything you think, say, and do are just the products of these biochemical reactions in your brain, and you don't have any control over that. In fact, you don't have any control over your own feelings or your beliefs or your actions, because everything that's causing you to do what you do, well, is just the processes of nature. Biochemistry, electrical charges, the releasing of neurotransmitters. Based on that information, if I told you that, and you knew it was true, you could take it to the bank. What could you infer from that?
You may struggle with accountability.
You might think, well, if what Professor Gunnar just told me is true, nobody's really responsible for anything. Because nobody actually has control over anything that they do or anything that they think. This is the kind of thing we mean by inference. Okay? You have some data or claims or arguments or evidence, and what you're doing is you're looking at that and you're drawing conclusions or entailments or implications from that thing. Make sense? Okay, good. Now, all well and good. All of these things inform how we think about things critically. We interpret what things mean. We evaluate arguments and evidence or other people and their characters. We make inferences from data, conclusions. A part of that also has to do with explaining our positions and our views on things. And, hopefully, now and then, reflecting on how you are thinking yourself and how you're responding to things. But none of this matters unless you actually do this shit. Okay? You might be the best critical thinker in the world. You might be able to interpret everything correctly. You've never misread a text. You might be able to be a perfect judge of character. Right? Oh, I know that guy's an asshole. I can just tell. You know? Or I know this is the love of my life. Woo! Found her. Great. But if you don't actually put these things into practice, how are you going to deal with the world any better that you're dealing with it now? Critical thinking is something that you need to employ. Okay? We're thinking all the time, whether you realize it or not. So much of what's going on in your brain right now is all happening below the surface. Right? You're having these feelings and these reactions. Your sense organs, your eyes and your ears and your nose, they're receiving all of this information from the environment and they're interpreting it for you. And so you smell things and you have a certain image of what the world is like because of your eyes. We could say that you're thinking all the time. But a lot of that is subconscious, right? You're not aware of it. You're not actually consciously reflecting on everything going on around you, right? This class should hopefully get you to engage more in that conscious reflection. Consciously evaluating things. Consciously interpreting the world. Intentionally and consciously trying to think about your own thinking and the conclusions that you're drawing from data and things. We think all the time. But to become a good critical thinker, so that you can solve problems better, so that you can show up for your partner better, so that you can get that job, so that you can make that deal, you actually have to practice doing these things, consciously and intentionally. If we don't, we're not actually going to get any better at interpreting the world, understanding our own thinking, explaining our views to others, drawing better conclusions. Okay? The whole point of critical thinking, the whole point of this class, is to hopefully get you to engage in this consciously and intentionally more. Okay? This is a skill. It's something that can be trained. It's something that you can actually cultivate. And if you do cultivate it, consciously and intentionally, not only will you have better relationships, you will understand yourself better, you'll understand other people better, you'll make smarter and wiser decisions. Your life will go more smoothly. You'll put yourself in less dangerous situations. You will become happier and healthier if you actually do this and if you actually train this skill. Now, I can't prove that to you because, well, a lot of times there aren't really many tangible results that you'll see from improving these things, unless you actually apply your skills to creating something or fabricating something. But I promise you that this is something that is worth spending your time on. Because critical thinking, as you already agreed, is useful for everything. It's useful for everything. So hopefully throughout the course of this class, you will actually employ these skills and you'll become better at it. Now, how can we all improve these skills? How can we get better at this thing that's supposedly useful for everything? What kinds of attitudes or dispositions or what kind of relationship to the world should we try to embody? Yeah. Keeping an open mind? Okay, why do you say that?
Because everyone has different perspectives and it seems to develop as a better individual and opening your mind to new ideas.
Let me ask you all this. Do you all have a complete understanding of how the world works? How good would you say your understanding is? Maybe you understand 50% of how the world works? Or is that high? What do you think? What percent of the world do you think you truly understand? You truly grasp? Throw out a number. Say that again? 1%? Somebody said 50? Or 15? What do the rest of y'all think? 5?
Confident 10.
Confident 10. How's your Aztec history?
Now, I feel like it's a little dicey. That's the 90.
How many things have happened before any of us were born that we have no idea about? Anybody know anything here about Maxwell's field equations? Or how to use latex? Or what the person sitting next to you is thinking? Anybody know that? I'm here to tell you that our understanding of the world is probably 0.00001%. Okay? There is so much that we do not know because there's so much going on. There's so many things that have happened. So, if you want to become a good critical thinker, if you want to relate to the world more effectively, more successfully, keeping an open mind is a great idea. Because it's only by keeping an open mind that we can actually consume and assimilate information we don't have. And there is much more of that than there is information that we do have. Okay? So you should be open-minded to other people's views and open-minded to revising your own views. All right, what else? If you're trying to become a good critical thinker, how else should you see and approach the world? Or what should your personality be like? Yeah. Being receptive? Yeah, we might say it's similar to open-mindedness, but it's also distinct, right? Being receptive means maybe it's not just that the walls are down, but that you're also looking out at other views. Yeah.
Being analytical.
Being analytical? What do you mean by that?
Goes back to more just an understanding or trying to get the full picture of everything and initial objective observations.
Okay. And should those observations be fueled by personal vendettas and feelings and biases?
Ideally, no.
Ideally, no. What should they be like?
More, again, open-minded and non-biased.
Non-biased. Right? This word is going to come up a lot in this class. I'm going to use objective or objectively. Okay? We don't just want to remain open-minded. We also want to maintain objectivity in how we analyze and evaluate things. Because if we're plagued with personal feelings, our quest for revenge, or personal desires all the time, and all you can think about is eating McDonald's all day, are you really going to be able to see the full picture that well? If you can't take a step back and try to look at things objectively, look at the full picture? Probably not. So when we're looking at a problem, when we're looking at an idea or a theory, we'll want to try to maintain objectivity. Okay, what else? How do we be good critical thinkers? Or how do we cultivate this skill? Yeah?
Oh, you can bounce ideas off other people.
Ah!
Or groups.
Yeah! Yeah! Great point. How do you learn about the world around you? Is anybody here in their off time just, I think it's really fun to read Wikipedia articles for 10 hours a day? No, what are you doing? Well, you're watching cat videos, maybe you're working out, or you're going on dates or whatever it is, doing your homework. One of the best sources for new information and to, develop and improve relationships and relationship skills means connecting with others and communicating with them. This is how we transmit a lot of information to each other. This is what your entire education has been up until this point, right? How did you learn about George Washington? Your teacher told you, they communicated with you. How do you know where to turn when you're going to a club you've never been to before? Well, the GPS is communicating with you, right? How do you learn your boyfriend is mad at you? Well, because the way he's acting and his facial expressions and his tone are all communicating something to you. And you're picking up on that, right? Yes, other people have a ton of information that you don't have. So connecting with them and communicating with them can help you understand the world better and tackle it more successfully. Okay, what else? What other traits or dispositions makes a good critical thinker? Yeah?
Skepticism in your own and others' ideas.
Skepticism. Okay, so what do you mean by that?
This goes along with taking out bias, but it's kind of more of a scientific process of trying to disprove something before you rationalize it.
Okay. Yeah, there seem to be arenas in which it's good, not to throw yourself completely into believing something, maintaining some kind of distance from it, or looking at other views, with some skepticism, looking at your own views with skepticism. Yeah, I'm going to kind of lump that in with the second one, like you said. Good. What else? Traits of a good critical thinker. How do we get y'all to become better critical thinkers? Curiosity. Say more about that. Why is that important?
Being curious about what's around you and to learn more about it instead of just looking at it and being.
Why is that good, though? Curiosity. I'm happier just sitting in my room, watching Love Island again. Why should I be curious about other people and about the world?
Other people can add value to your.
Definitely, right? And they can present you with information that you didn't have. Being curious, you might say, is the same as being open-minded, but it's not. Okay? Imagine your relationship with the world is you're a little man inside these walls. You're in a little fortress. Okay? And there's all this crap happening outside the fortress. Some things you let into your fortress. Some things you don't. Being open-minded is like letting the walls drop. Okay? being open to different views, different things, blah, blah, blah. Being curious means you leave the walls. You go out there and you explore. You actually look into things. You do research, right? You tussle with it. You explore it. You investigate it. So we want to be open-minded, but we also want to be curious. We want to actually go and investigate. Not just wait for information to come to us, but pursue it. Okay, good. What else?
I would say this kind of like lumps in with curiosity, but like when you're wanting to know about things in the world, being okay with uncertainty and not having like a determined answer to something, I think that's pretty good. You notice that in like a lot of philosophers and stuff, they talk about that.
Okay, yeah. I'm also going to add another one in here that's kind of similar, okay? Flexibility is good. This is also associated with open-mindedness, right? Being flexible about views and ideas, right? Being okay with uncertainty. Because what happens if you're not okay with uncertainty? If you always want certainty, if you're always looking for the truth, you're always looking for the answer.
You'll be inclined to find the easiest answer and go with whatever like fulfills whatever you think.
Yeah, I mean, especially if your drive to understand is, emotional, or it's arising out of some kind of psychological or physical need, you might just latch onto the first answer that you find, right? And think, that's it.
Or you'll be forever uncertain and just drive yourself almost crazy looking for answers.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who have done that, right? Maybe I'm doing that. I don't know. The more I study philosophy, the less I know. Okay, good. One more. Let's get one more down. Think about this from a psychological perspective. You have relationship trauma from one of your exes, okay? They really fucked you up, all right? Now, if you hide from that, if you deny it, if you never face it, is that going to be good for you? I see some shaking of heads. Why not? Why can't you just avoid your traumas and never face them? You'll be anxious about it? We might say it'll be like a shadow that's haunting you the rest of your life, causing you problems, making you anxious, causing you to fall into bad patterns of thinking and acting. We should strive to be honest, not only with other people, but also with ourselves. Okay? Being honest about what our views are, what our feelings are, what our reasons are for things. Being honest with ourselves. Why we're having the reaction that we're having. Why we have that belief that we did. Oh, it's because I was raised in this household with these kinds of parents, with this kind of tradition and culture. Okay? If we're not honest with ourselves, that is only going to hamper our ability to understand ourselves and relate to other people and evaluate the world and evaluate our own thinking. Okay? These are all the traits of a good critical thinker. Critical thinkers are also clear and organized in their thinking and in their presentation of information. So they're clear and organized not only about how they think about things, but also how they present that information to others. Okay? They are diligent and persistent in seeking out information and seeking out the truth. We might say they're attentive not only to the nuances of an argument, the precise wording, the precise relationships between things, but they also have a view of the big picture. Okay? We might also say, finally, that good critical thinkers are reasonable in what they're thinking and how they're thinking and the conclusions that they come to. And this is one that's a little bit tricky to define and explain precisely, because being reasonable about something, it comes from a lot of experience and a lot of practice. Whether or not you can even know if you're being reasonable or not is something that you have to work on. So we might say reasonable in selecting criteria for evaluating things, right? If I decided the criteria I'm going to use to determine if this is a good water bottle or not, I'm going to throw it up as high as I can. And if it breaks, that means it's a shit water bottle. What do you think? Is that a good criteria for judging if this is a good water bottle? Not really, right? There are a lot of other things that might go into our evaluation of why this is good. Whether it has holes, that's a reasonable or good one, right? Whether or not it can hold cold and hot liquids. Whether or not it's made from environmentally sustainable material, if you care about the environment, right? So good critical thinkers are reasonable in selecting criteria for evaluation. Oh, no end there. And in analyzing things, okay? Now I'm just going to say one more thing about this analyzing business. Does anybody know where we get this word from? Analyzing. We actually get it from an ancient Greek word. And basically what it means is to break or cut apart. When you're analyzing something, you're taking the thing and you're dividing it into all of its parts and all of its relationships. And you're looking at how they all relate to one another and inform one another and influence each other. And what makes the thing the thing. Okay? Just a little history lesson for you. Now, these are all skills. Okay? These are things that you can cultivate. You can become more open-minded. You can become more curious about the world. You can become a clearer communicator, right? You can be more flexible in the views that you entertain, that you think about, that you reflect on. And you can become more honest with yourself as well. Now, none of this is going to happen overnight, but as they say, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single one, right? These are all things that you can get better at. And if you do, your life is going to go a lot more smoothly, okay? Compared to, oh, I'm just going to live my life never thinking about anything and just reacting emotionally to things. That's probably going to get you in trouble, okay? And leads you into dangerous situations. So, to sum up, what is critical thinking useful for? Everything. Could we get some more examples again? What can you use it for? What can it help you with? Not gambling, good. Not gambling too much, right? Maybe a little bit is okay, I don't know.
Enough to win big.
Say that again?
Enough to win big.
Enough to win big, that's right, no. What else? What else is it good for? Understanding yourself. Yes. Why you have the traits and dispositions you do. Why you have the beliefs you do. Where those beliefs came from. Why, for example, you are so possessed by this desire to not disappoint your parents. Or why you are so possessed by this feeling that you need to please everybody all the time. That you need to be a people pleaser and never make anybody sad. I can't speak my own honest feelings because that would make them sad. Yeah, you can use critical thinking to figure out why you are the way that you are. And what made you that way. What else? Yes? Understanding the world. Okay, could we get some examples?
Learning more about different cultures, how they interact, how the world kind of works.
Sure. Yeah, understand. You can use it to understand history better, cultures, right? Trade, foreign relations, law and policy. Critical thinking can help you understand all that better and relate to it more effectively. Okay, what else?
How to have better social skills.
Better social skills. Can you provide us with a more specific example?
Better communication about how you feel, what your perspectives are, and how you feel about other people.
Right. Yeah, good. Good. Okay, anything else? Let's get one more example. Shout it out. What else can we use critical thinking for? What's it good for?
Analyzing information.
Analyzing information. Example?
For example, when you see a video and you want to think if it's AI or not, so you know if it's real or not.
Right. You're trying to figure out if a video is AI. You're going to be looking for certain things, right? That's become a lot harder nowadays. Good. Critical thinking is useful for pretty much everything. Now, something that you need to keep in mind is it's a tool or a skill. But that means it can be used for either good or evil, right? You can use your critical thinking skills to make your boyfriend happier, or you could use it to really screw him over if you wanted, right? Because he cheated on you and you want to get back at him. It can be used for many different purposes, many different ends. Unless, however, we consciously and intentionally reflect on information, what we're presented, how we're thinking, our relationships to others, etc. Unless we do that, we're not going to become better critical thinkers. According to our best cognitive scientists, there are fundamentally basically two different ways that we think. We have two different systems that process information inside of our brains. Does anybody remember what these are from the reading?
System 1 and System 2. The first one is like intuitive.
Okay, say more about that.
Just sort of like your gut reaction that's needed in like immediate scenarios. Like, I don't know, you're about to walk into a sidewalk and there's a car coming down, you need that instant reaction to be that you jump backwards, back onto the sidewalk, and then the other one is more of like a reflexive process.
Good. Yeah. System 1, we might say, is fast. It's pretty much unconscious, right? Our brain or our mind is just processing what's in front of us and leading to an action, right? Like swerving out of the way of somebody who jumps out in front of you, right? And as you said, it's intuitive. So much of how we interface with the world relies on this system. And we need to. We need to have fast, intuitive judgments on things. But we also have this second system available to us. And what's that like? Contrast it with the first one.
It's reflective and analytical. It's slow processing.
Slow. We might say it's conscious, intentional, maybe.
Intentional, yeah. I mean, it's often harder to access and use. You have to like intentionally use it and incorporate it, I'd say.
Right. We have these two different ways that we can interface with the world: process information, form judgments, act. Both of them are necessary to live a fruitful, happy, and healthy life. But I want you in this class to try to engage this system as much as you can. You're going to have reactions to things in this class. We're going to talk about controversial subjects and issues. You're going to have a visceral reaction. Instead of letting that overtake you, try to slow yourself down. Consciously think about your reaction. Consciously think about the view being presented to you, the evidence for it, the evidence against it, etc. That's what critical thinking is all about. Slowing down, taking an honest and hard look at things. Okay? All right. Any questions, concerns, comments? All right. Make sure to keep your name tags. I would encourage you all to get started on the reading due for Tuesday, because I think the reading on Thursday, there are 2 readings for Thursday, but it's not that many pages. But it can't hurt to get ahead. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email me. I'll write my email here on the board. Otherwise, thank you for coming. These first 2 weeks are going to be a little lecture heavy, but it'll become a lot more interesting and participatory after that.
I have a question about the attendance because I wasn't here in the first class.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mark you absent. So it should. Are you still enrolled in the class?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
I registered like Tuesday night because I couldn't get a meeting with an advisor till that day.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Your grade won't be impacted by that. Yeah. Just moving forward, you're allowed 2 unexcused absences, no questions asked.
Okay.
Once you start getting to 3, then your grade starts going down.
Sure. No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are these notes on Canvas?
No, they're not on Canvas, but I can upload my teaching notes if you all want.
You could. I forgot my notebook. So.
All right. Next time, bring it though.
Yes,
all right.
Well, thank you.
All right.
2 things. First of all, will the assignment still be open, or should I? Because I know an email will probably be the same thing. I can't. Email.
Oh yeah, it should still be open. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, actually, wait. Did I set it up to close it?
I don't know.
I think I did. Just email it to me.
Well, I think it might not sing because it's 8 minutes.
Okay.
I was talking to some guy and he told me how to do it, but
Okay.
next time. But it's on Canvas. I don't know. Should I just
Well,
send it like in 2 separate clips?
So you might be able to attach it as an attachment, or you may be able to share it as a OneDrive link in the emails, and that option will come up like when you. So just try to see if you can do it one of those ways, and if you can't, email me or something.
Okay, and then also the second thing. Actually, the second thing I was emailing you about, but
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
I didn't get the attendance sheet to sign. I didn't get past.
Where's the attendance sheet at? Anybody see it? Oh, right. Thank you very much. Yeah, here you go.
Thank you. Do you have a pen I can use real quick? Sorry.
Yeah. Here, give me 1 second. Do I have a pen? I should have a pen. Here we go. I'll let you use my personal pen.
Thank you.
Hi.
I have a question. for the audio journal, I already did it. Like I submitted it, but did you want us